Hello, everyone. Today, I'm very happy to have a young expert in finance, and especially in renewable energy finance or sustainability finance or whatever it is that you call it. But let's listen to him because he'll tell us what he actually does. So let's welcome Labanya Prakash Jena to this channel. Over to you, Labanya. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Dr. Mathur, for inviting me to share my ideas or whatever I have gathered, whatever knowledge I have gathered over a period of time in the private sector, as well as in the green finance ecosystem in the last 7 to 8 years, particularly in India. So my career started back in, I will say my finance career started back in 2005. I spent around 10 to 11 years in the private sector, mostly picking up stocks and picking up bonds for portfolio managers or so, writing a lot of investment memorandum, okay, which will help the portfolio manager to pick up, to identify stocks to buy or sell, or identify bonds to buy and sell. But I changed my career completely in a different direction in 2016 when I joined this green finance or climate change area, where I'm trying to make a change in the ecosystem, in the financial system, to protect the planet. Okay, my whatever things I have done so far, it may be very small, but I'm still trying to make some changes, but through the financial system. I'm not a scientist, I'm not an engineer. Okay, so since my experience, my education is in the field of economics and particularly finance, so I'm trying to make changes. How finance can play a role? Since we know that to make changes in the real economy, so yeah, it is important that the financial player also play a very critical role in mobilizing capital or reorienting capital from heavily carbon intensive businesses to low carbon intensive businesses. We'll talk about that, why we're talking about or concerned about this carbon thing in the society or in the economy in a couple of minutes now. So that's what I am doing, trying to support policymakers, regulators, the market participants in the financial market to take right decisions based on the best of the informations I can be able to provide them. That one part. Secondly, I am also a teacher. I have been teaching in business schools, in universities, where I'm trying to basically develop knowledge base around climate change and its relationship to financial system. Okay, because once they graduate and join the corporate or the financial market, they have a better understanding about climate change, and hopefully they will take decisions which will help not only the financial system to mitigate the climate change risk, but also they can help in mobilizing capital required for climate action. So that's what I do. In addition to that, I also write papers, long research papers, short articles. I think short articles is very critical. So nowadays, many of us know that people don't have time to read a longer paper. So just to read a short versions of my papers or articles. The idea is that to spread awareness, because whenever I'm talking to people in the financial market, they also realize that, okay, we don't know much about that. Okay, you need to spread awareness among financial market participants. They can understand, they can appreciate the importance of climate change in their decision making. Okay, you are making yourself vulnerable. You are making the financial sector vulnerable to climate change. So it is beneficial for you to consider climate change in your investment or lending decisions. But in the process, you are also helping the society. You are also helping to protect the planet from climate change in the long term. You may not get realize the benefits quickly because nowadays I can understand that the fund managers, they're all the time they are facing the pressure of stock prices going down, going up. They are judged by every day. Similarly, corporations, they are also judged by every quarter. So they need to disclose better results than what the analysts are expecting. They are always under the pressure. But at the same time, they should not forget that climate change or sustainability is going to help them in the long term. Okay, as we know that the idea of any corporation is to create value over a long period of time rather than generating a massive amount of profit in the short term, but in the long term, you are not able to manage certain risk you are exposed to during a short duration period of time. We have learned that the lesson during different crises, particularly in 2007 and 2008 financial crisis, that overemphasis on profitability, many decision makers in the financial system, both in the real economy as well as particularly in the financial companies, they take decisions which would only help them to generate profit over in the short term, but they didn't realize the kind of exposure, the kind of risk they are exposed to. So it is important they must consider climate change. Okay, coming back very quickly, what exactly climate change? We know about that. It's about increasing in global temperature. Okay, global warming. We keep on hearing about. For example, here in Delhi, I'm talking today. I think the temperature could be 21, 22 degree today. But in reality, in December, in the month of December, in Delhi, temperature touches below 15 degree or 16 degree. Even I don't. I'm not wearing a sweater now. Okay,
Yeah.
so we can so we can understand that. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but as per scientists, that's the impact of climate change. Our duration of winter is changing, is shrinking, and the duration of summer is increasing. It has an impact on everything, on the society as well as economy. Okay, our agriculture production is also getting affected every year. You must have heard that from central banks around the world, including Reserve Bank of India, they keep on saying that how climate change is affecting the inflation, particularly the food price in India. So they are worried about that. Couple of days back, even the deputy governor said in a speech at Singapore University that because of climate change, it is a financial risk to the system, to the financial system entirely. So we cannot ignore the risk or the statement coming from the deputy governor of a central bank. Okay, so it means that we cannot say that okay, climate change is just a problem for developing country or just a problem for people who are vulnerable. But as a society, definitely we need to take care of everyone. Okay, it's not like that. We'll take care of the financial market. We are responsible citizens. We need to take care of everybody. At the same time, if we read the mandates or functions and objectives of any of the financial regulators, particularly the central bank in the developing countries, their mandate is just not to stabilize the inflation or stabilize the financial system. Okay, their role is to also align with government's plans, also government role, as well as facilitate development financing in the country. So many times also researchers, particularly academicians, they keep on saying that, okay, how can you ask central bank to do government jobs? Somehow I disagree with that. Okay, central banks may have limited tools, but why don't they to use whatever tools available to help and support government goals, particularly if it is helping the government to create public goods. Okay, so in that aspect, I co-authored a book. The book is published by Bloomsbury a couple of months back, where we are trying to spread awareness because when we are talking about climate change or climate actions, so it is a combination of many things. A combination of you need to identify the technologies, okay, which is critical to reduce carbon emission. That one part, and secondly, since we know that it's extremely difficult to shift our technologies very quickly. For example, historically, I mean the entire economy were relying on carbon intensive fossil fuels for our energy needs. Okay, since industrialization started, okay, now fossil fuel is a burden for us because our entire economic infrastructure is based on fossil fuel. So we cannot quickly move to clean energy very soon. Okay, we can understand the constant, but at the same time, we should try our best how we can move. So in the book, we have identified what are the technological options available, particularly for a developing country, to move from a very high carbon intensive economy to low carbon intensive economy. So then we spoke about, we're talking about what are the policy options or financial choices available with us, because you understand that developing countries have their own challenges. Okay, climate action definitely priority, but at the same time, in a developing country, there are many other challenges the government needs to deal with. Okay, starting from poverty alleviation to affordable healthcare to education. Okay, all these are equally important for a country like India, where the per capita income is around $3,000 or so, or any developing country. So you cannot push developing countries that okay, you need to prioritize only climate actions, which will help in creating global public goods. Not necessarily, I mean, you are creating a public good for your own country, but if you are ignoring other things, that may not be the best, may not be in the best interest of the society, particularly in developing country. So we are discussing about that, okay, how the government can balance their roles. One is that taking climate actions as well as taking care of other things as well. Then we are also discussing what is the role of the financial players, particularly financial regulators, including central bank, securities regulator, pension funds, and so
Labanya,
on.
can we see your book cover so that people can know what you're talking about?
Sure, sure. So
Let me put you
this
on pause.
is,
Okay, good. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, this is the book cover. Can you see it?
Yes. So what made you write it?
No, since COVID actually, so suddenly at the age of, I will say 41, 42, I realized that, okay, I need to write something. So I started writing, okay. Since 2020, I started, maybe I might have published more than 100 articles, blogs, research papers, combined together. So a professor at IIM Ahmedabad, my co-author, he is an alumni of IIM Ahmedabad. He suggested that you guys are writing too much. Why don't you compile everything and develop a book? So we compiled several articles together. Then we added more so that it will look like a book. Okay, that's what we did. The idea is that we can circulate the book in the universities, particularly in business schools, where there are discussion going on, because these players are going to join. I mean, students from business schools, so they are going to join the corporate field. At least if they understand about climate change, they can appreciate it. Okay, whenever they join the corporate, they can realize, okay, this is the decisions you need to take. Okay, whenever, I mean, it may not be possible at the early stage of your career. Many times also they can also pass on their recommendations to the top leadership in a corporate. That one part. Second part is that we also try to circulate among the policymakers as well, and we have got decent or nice feedback from some of the people working in the government as well as in the in the in the in the financial regulatory ecosystem as well. The idea is to definitely, sir, it's spreading the awareness, which is very, very important for us. We didn't find enough books actually where they are talking about technologies, policy, and regulation all together. Because when we are talking about climate actions, as we know that we need collective actions. It's not like that private players will put their capital. We need favorable policies, we need favorable regulations. Okay, all these three components need to come together. At the same time, we also added another portion, the role of international institutions. As you know that international cooperation is critical for a developing countries, because one is that developing countries, they don't have enough capital to mobilize for their climate actions. There is a massive gap. It means that the role of for development finance institutions or multilateral development bank is very, very critical. So we say that, okay, how they can play a very, very active role, how they can support developing countries. Not only that, as you know that technology sharing is also a critical part of international cooperation, because most of the technologies are developed in the developed countries. So developing countries may not have enough financial power to buy this technology at a market price and deploy them in their respective markets. So we covered all of them. I mean, as I said, that the inspiration was okay to write something, that one part. Second is that we didn't find actually any materials. We are talking about all the critical technologies required for low carbon transition, as well as the kind of policy and regulatory support required. So that's the reason why I wrote this book.
Okay, wonderful. Let's go back to your talk.
Yeah, so I was talking about okay, it's a combination of policies, technologies, policies, the role of financial regulators as well as international cooperation. Then we are writing about technology, but when we are talking about low carbon transition or green economic transition, what kind of technologies you need? Okay, you need to add a massive amount of renewable energy capacity which can replace the coal. At the same time, you need also to invest in industrial sector. You need to invest in low carbon transportation. We keep on hearing about electric vehicle. We need to invest in the housing sector as well because they are the consumer of energy. Globally, if we see that what is the contribution of energy sector to GHG emission, it is around 70 to 75%. It is applicable to India also. Okay, 70 to 75% of GHG emission is emanated from energy. So we need to decarbonize energy. How to do that? We need to add more renewable energy capacity. We need to move away from coal, from oil and gas. So how can you do that? By adding renewable energy capacity, uh, but there are challenges associated with renewable energy capacity. That's the reason, since we know that we cannot get electricity 24/7 by using just solar and wind or even if hydropower. Although there are other technological options available like nuclear, but we understand that okay, we cannot accelerate the adoption of nuclear technologies. So it is not the safest way of generating energy. There are certain scientists they say that okay, there are ways also. I'm not debating that, but definitely that we are not going to use nuclear energy significantly. So it means that as per science, we must rely on wind and solar till there is any technological breakthrough in the future. But the issue is that wind and solar cannot offer you 24/7 electricity. It means that we need to store electricity either in battery storage or in green hydrogen. The challenges associated with both battery storage and green hydrogen, it's not commercially viable. If it is not commercially viable, how can you make it? How can accelerate renewable energy? Uh, but as we know historically, it happened to the in any technologies we touch. Okay, starting from semiconductor chips to renewable energy to smartphones. Okay, in the initial years, the cost of technology is very expensive. But through innovation, through learning, through scale up operation, cost of technology can be reduced significantly. For example, solar. Let's take the example of solar. In the last 20 years, the cost of solar adoption decreased by 80 to 90%. It can happen to green hydrogen. It can happen to battery storage as well. So that one part, how I can scale up, then you need favorable policies, favorable regulations, and also you need to mitigate the perceived risk among financiers also. Many times I spent in the financial sector, I understand that if any technologies has a limited track record or no track record, as an investor, okay, you will see that okay, I'm not going to finance these technologies. I cannot take that much of risk because in the global finance system, most of the investors are lower risk seeking. Okay, except private equity or venture capitals, they are highly risk seeking. But still, if they are highly risk seeking, they expect higher return.
Yeah,
Okay, by offering them higher return, it means that you are increasing the cost of adoption of any technologies, which is not a win-win scenario to accelerate the adoption of any technologies. It means that you need to mobilize capital from a low risk seeking and low return seeking investors, particularly commercial banks, pension fund, insurance companies, even mutual funds also. So how can you reduce that cost of capital? How can you mobilize capital from this low risk seeking investors? So you need to design different instruments. You need to mitigate the risk for this kind of investors. That's the electricity part I just spoke. The secondly, we need to move to low carbon transportation. It is a combination of electric vehicle. For example, all these short haul vehicles. It could be two-wheelers, three-wheelers, cars or buses, which are running maybe 200, 300 kilometers per day, not more than that. you can electrify those vehicles. Okay, since these vehicles are dependent on on fossil fuel, okay, we need to move away from oil and gas. Okay, if we electrify those, so there is a possibility that we are adding renewable energy electricity to the grid, and these vehicles can source electricity, consume the electricity, they can run. Okay, in that case, we are moving away from oil and gas and go to renewable energy. But there are challenges also because, for example, many of these technologies are highly capital intensive. Okay, the consumers may not be interested or not may not be comfortable to spend additional money to this to buy these vehicles. Secondly, if they go to a commercial bank, they may not be comfortable to provide additional capital required to buy these vehicles. And there are not enough ecosystem. You will not find enough charging station. There are also anxiety issue. Okay, there are people not available also to fix if there are any technical issues. Okay, whether labor's available, whether there are, like, we have garage in the country all around, okay, which can fix the automobiles whenever they want. Okay, you need to create an ecosystem around automobiles also in the transportation sector. So we discussed about that, how we can mitigate those challenges. Here, the role of government plays a very, very critical role to create an ecosystem which is essential to adapt. Okay, it's not necessarily only for the transportation sector, it is for the renewable energy or entire power sector as well. The third is the industrial sector. No, inside the power transportation sector, there are two or three segments. One is that long haul trucks, and second is shipping, and the third is airlines or aircraft. There you cannot use the battery to run these vehicles. Okay, long haul trucks or shipping. So you need to find alternative fuels for them. Okay, for shipping it could be ammonia. For long haul trucks, it could be green hydrogen. Similarly, for aircraft or airlines, you need to use syn fuels or sustainable aviation fuels. But it will take a long, long time actually. These fuels are massively expensive. Okay, nobody is going to buy those. But is it possible that if we can accelerate and invest more money, okay, can we cut down, reduce the cost of production? Okay, cost of production of these fuels. For example, green ammonia is it's quite possible. It may be commercial viable in the next 10, 15 years or so, which can reduce, which can motivate the shipping companies to move from, let's say, they are using those fossil fuels to green hydrogen. For long haul trucks also, it is possible. We spoke about that also in the book. Then there is housing sector, which is no. Then third is the industrial sector. In the industrial sector, which we call, I mean, in a climate community, it's called hard to decarbonize industries because there are technologically challenges. For example, most of the, for example, steel, cement, so they need energy in the form of heat, not electricity. Okay, except for example, electric furnaces also where they need electricity. But if you see the steel industry structure, mostly those are electric blast furnaces. You need heat. Through electricity, you cannot generate that much of heat which is required in steel making. Even in the case of cement, it's industrial processes. So they will take a longer time to decarbonize. But is there any options, any choices available? Okay, is there any technological options available? Are this company willing to sacrifice some short-term returns so that they can perform better in the future? As you know, that carbon pricing is kicking in. The European Union just came out with CBAM, and the Indian steel producers are concerned about that. It will hamper their profitability. They may not be competitive enough to export steel products to Europe. Okay, so we also spoke about that, how the financial policy makers or development financial institutions can motivate, can provide concessional capital or through blended financing mechanism to these industries. It will help them to accelerate the adoption of low carbon technologies. We talk about that also in the book. And lastly, the housing. Mostly we ignore housing because it is very, very political sensitive. But housing, they consume around, in India, I think 16 to 17% of electricity. But in addition to that, when you build house, it means that you need steel, you need cement, you need bricks. Okay. So if we add everything, it is creating maybe 25, 26% of GHG emission. So how can you basically reduce GH emission from there. Okay, can you add, let's say, rooftop solar? Government of India has a massive rooftop solar program, but it is limited to certain segments in the society, not to everybody. But is there any financial products can be created where commercial banks can sell rooftop solar as a financial product to consumers? Can you create financial product, for example, so that households can buy energy efficient appliances? Okay, so which will reduce the energy consumption significantly. Okay, can they build houses which will reduce the temperature inside house? There are technologies which will available. Okay, for example, if the temperature is 45-degree, it will reduce the inside home temperature by the 2 to 3 degree, which is significant enough for to reduce your air conditioner energy consumption. Okay, so it's possible. Okay, it will take some longer time, but it's possible. But it's important that you need to create conducive policy mechanisms to motivate households to do that. We spoke about that. Okay, so we combine all these pieces together, and you will find that in the book. But we keep on writing on these subjects also, try to spread awareness. Sometimes, if the policymakers are writing my articles, which are published on print media as well as internet platform, they may get something out of that. So, yeah, you are on mute, sir.
Thank you. It's really a pleasure to listen to you. You're very, very knowledgeable about all of these things. I hope the younger people who can see this or others, who are your clients? Whom do you work for?
Now I'm a consultant working in a couple of organizations, including CEW and IFA. I'm also consultant to UNDP. Mostly the clients are foundations in these organizations. So as you know that foundations they are giving grants to not-for-profit companies so that they can create punish knowledge pieces, which is critical. Okay, through knowledge pieces, particularly the kind of knowledge pieces I create, those are financial products or designing certain policies, certain regulations. The idea is that you create some knowledge pieces and you try to nudge the decision makers to change to take certain decisions. So this foundation, that's the expectations of this of these founders actually to so that the policy makers or whoever the decision makers can take certain decisions. Yeah.
All right. What tips do you have for young people who might, like who are master students at Terry? I see a lot of them. What
Mhm.
tips do you have for them?
One is try to understand the system as a whole. I can understand that okay, if you are coming from a business background or from technology background, you restrict yourself around business or on technology. But it is you will get a far better picture if you are looking at the system level, and you can do a better job actually.
Mm,
Maybe even if you are in corporate field, you will far do a better job. You must have a better understanding
mm,
what is the expectation from policymakers, from
mm,
regulators,
mm,
even from the consumers, and
mm,
also from the financials also.
mm,
So, and you keep on reading actually. I realized that after 35 years or so, you need to read a lot. I keep on reading all the time. Okay, now it is. I mean, when I was a kid, I'm brought up in a very, very rural area and studied in a vernacular and my local languages. It took me a long time actually to access the kind of materials, the kind of lectures currently available. Okay, either from Coursera or edX. Okay, so or whatever literature available, you can see yeah, fantastic publications published by journals, by international institutions, including World Bank or IMF or any other think tanks. There are massive set of literature currently available. Okay, there is no dearth of knowledge. So it is important for youngsters to read as much as possible. It's not necessary that you read in your own domain area. Sometimes it is also important to read beyond your domain area. That will help you to have a broader understanding, and you will do a far better job. For example, I keep on reading about technology. I'm not an engineer, I'm not a scientist. If I understand the technology, it will help me what are the kind of financing required, okay, by these particular technologies, how the policymakers design policies, okay, based on the characteristics of these technologies. So that's the reason I keep on reading about technologies. For example, if I talk to financiers, they might have limited understanding of technologies. So as an intermediary, you can pass on the knowledge, okay, the technological understanding, pass on the knowledge to the financiers also. So reading is very critical, and also understanding a broader system is also important for a
Okay,
youngster.
so tell us about your days when you were very young. I mean, it looks like you have had a very, what should I say, long and tough journey to where you are at some point. So tell us about the beginning.
Yeah,
When you were young, you said you studied in some, I forget what you said, but you studied in the vernacular. So tell us about it.
yeah, so my father was a school teacher, so we were moving from one village to another village when I was a kid. So I joined actually school at the age of 4, but instead of studying class 1, I joined class 2. So so that was nobody is asking what is your age during my era. So in a school, so it was Odia medium. I mean, I studied entirely Odia till class 10, except the English. So I started learning English in class 4. But it was interesting. So I was finding a lot of time to play. So the school was between 10 to 4. Nobody bothered was about studies. We used to play after 4 p.m. And the school is just a walking distance, maybe 300 meters away from my home.
Yeah,
So we would have a lot of fun also during my
yeah,
school time.
yeah.
Uh, then
Wait,
after
wait,
12,
wait, 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 wait. What were some of the games you played? Because you said you
I
played. Now I want to know what were the games you played.
yeah, so it is a combination. There are a lot of local games. I will say I don't know the names of the games. For example, Gilli Danda, I used to play a lot.
Yeah,
So it was you don't have to pay anything to play Gilli Danda.
yeah,
Also, flying kites also was my
yeah,
hobby.
yeah,
Flying kites. Then little bit of cricket. Okay,
yeah,
not much. Little bit of cricket when I reached when I was around 11, 12 years old. I started playing cricket also. That is also a second-hand bat also. I mean, by using those very low quality balls as well, sometimes rubber balls also. I mean, it was just for fun, not to build
yeah,
any career or
yeah,
so. I was enjoying. Yeah, so even when I was 13 years, I crossed a river also by swimming. So the distance was very short, although not very long, maybe 100 meters or so.
mm,
So I swam that river.
yeah, good.
Yeah, so I had baths in ponds, in rivers. Then when I was 9 years old, I remember that because my ancestral place was around 12 to 13 kilometers from the place where I was studying or where our family was staying. Because 12 kilometers travel also, it was difficult during that period of time because my father had to cross two rivers actually. So we cannot stay at my ancestral place. So everybody moved.
Yeah,
Okay, so but
yeah,
we were going to whenever we go to my father's ancestral place, we were just walking.
yeah,
Okay, so it was walking in the sense that we had one bicycle. Okay, my father had a bicycle, so everybody can't go. We are a family of
no,
six, so
no.
we were just walking. Okay, I remember that I walked 12 kilometers when I was only 8 years old.
Wow.
So I don't think that I was tired. But if I walk now for 2 kilometers, I'll be definitely tired. But it was fun.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I spent schooling, then I do some college, my undergrad or so, in a local college or so, not at a city, in a local college, very small college
yeah,
under Utkal University. Then I moved to Revensa College in 1990, in the last part of 1990s. Then I passed my postgrad there at Revensa College. Then I moved to Delhi in the end of 2001, like any other person in Odisha to find a job. Okay, it was not like there are no placement because we were war student. Okay, even I remember that the lecturer at the college they told us that okay, you are studying economics, fine, but I don't think that except 1 or 2%, anybody will be an economist. Okay, you try, because there were 104 students in the
Yeah,
class in the post graduation. So
yeah,
he said that you do whatever, you pass the examination, you do whatever you want to do, because nobody is going to hire 104 economists. Okay, the world doesn't need so many economists. Okay,
yeah,
as simple as that.
yeah,
And I remembered that particular sentence. Okay, then I moved and I did whatever I could do. Then I studied actually again in 2008, 2000, when I joined this financial sector in 2005. Again, I started studying, enrolled my CFA program from CFA Institute US.
yeah,
Then passed level 1, level 2, level 3. I was still working, but started studying. Okay, after 10 years of leaving school, leaving my
yeah,
college,
yeah,
I realized that, okay, my master degree is not enough. I
yeah,
need to do something else.
yeah.
So that gave me some traction in my career. It
Mm,
is important to have a very good education from a prestigious institute. CF Institute has a reputation in the financial sector. I studied, which helped me a lot. Again, I'm still studying. I'm a PhD scholar at Textile at Jamshedpur.
mm.
So yeah, hopefully I'll get my degree next year.
Okay.
But yes, I struggle a lot in Delhi. Initially, even found it difficult to speak in English also.
Mm,
So later on, I find the lingo, learned little bit of accent which is required, and some of my mentors also I found out in the progress that, okay, you need to move your tongue properly so that you can express yourself. So yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
all right.
And if you had you met maybe 7 years back, I would not have spoken so much. I would have said, okay, I can speak only for 5 minutes. But now it's easy for me. I can speak hours. So it's yeah, I can speak hours. For example, I go to business schools. Even I offer training programs to executives. I speak for 2 hours, okay, without looking at anything, okay. But if you could have, had you asked me 7 years back, I don't think that I can speak more than 5 to 10 minutes.
Okay. Wonderful. I mean, it's very impressive. I tell you, it is very impressive. You've had, what can I say? You've made your path into the outstanding part of the world and you're doing a great job. So let me just end it here with that, unless you have some final words to say.
Thank you for inviting me. I just want to pass on the message to everybody whoever is listening or watching that podcast. Uh, One is that particularly for students, it is important to read actually to understand the system. I realized at the latter part of my career that will help you. One is that a better professionals, whatever you do, and better person also. Many times we forget about society, what we can offer to the society. Okay, so it will make you a better person. That one part. Second part is that people who are coming from a not so privileged background. Okay, so there is a chance for you now in an internet era. So there is no dearth of knowledge. You can acquire knowledge, okay, from best of the best in the world through internet. Okay, don't be low on confidence. Acquire knowledge, acquire skill set, whatever required. I will definitely grow very quickly. And also, I just want to focus. We should focus in whatever way. Okay, try to think about and appreciate about climate change and take appropriate actions, whatever possible.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Labanya. It was real, as I said, impressive and pleasure to listen to you. And thank you for being here. Let's end it here today. I want to talk to you offline. And I'll be back with another young person or an expert soon. Till then, bye, everybody.